Hey guys, Sara Hurrle here. I want to talk a little bit today about macros or flexible dieting. I've had a lot of questions and some criticisms and just, more than anything, questions about flexible dieting, macros, why to use it, when to use it. The reason I started doing flexible dieting was after the birth of my son Quincy. And the truth of the matter is I've been competing since 2007, so been dieting like this, etc., since 2006. For that entire time, I was single. And as many of you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I really am good at extremes, I guess you could say, right? So coming from that addict mindset, I was very good at all or nothing. And I think some of you can relate to that, especially as it pertains to contest prep and dieting and things. So having that sort of ingrained in me and part of me, obviously I'm now 11 years sober and my life doesn't look like that anymore, those extremes. Truth be told, being good at extremes actually made me very good at competing. That all or nothing approach, that ability to just kind of crazy one focus, things like that. It also, getting sober was the only way I could really compete, obviously, is to tackle that demon. But I still had some of those lingering addictive mindsets. And I think I hear a lot from my clients that they really can relate. Maybe it's not alcohol or drugs or anything like that, but it's with food. Here comes now why I like macros and flexible dieting so much. So after giving birth to my son, obviously I'm not feeling my best. I'm at the heaviest weight in my life. I don't have the time or the energy or really the motivation or commitment at that time to go back to this extreme. And everything in me wanted to do that. So I hear a lot from my clients. I got to go back to chicken and broccoli. That's the only way. I've got to cut all of my carbs. I've got to start increasing my cardio. And that's not necessarily healthy. It's not going to help you from a metabolic standpoint to increase your metabolism. Again, you're creating and you're setting up this all or nothing approach again, which has its toll on the body, obviously is not the healthiest lifestyle, right? So I'm sitting there, with my son, having very limited time per week, and not wanting to go back to that place. So I was stuck because that's what I knew. So I contacted a coach, a very good friend of mine, to help me with these macros because I knew enough. And I think this is key for a lot of us. We need to know I should be able to do it on my own, but the fact is I probably wasn't going to be able to because my old ways or sort of the things in my own head tell me I need to go back to what I was doing, crazy amounts of cardio, very, very restricted diet, etc. So I knew enough to know that I didn't want to go back to that place. The other thing is, my body had gotten accustomed to eating, foods that weren't on a contest prep plan, which is good for the body. I know many, many contest preps or after shows, I've been in tears at the grocery store because I want to explore other foods, but they hurt my stomach and obviously they make me gain weight right away. Hence the importance of reverse dieting, but we'll talk about that another day. So macros and flexible dieting. The important thing to understand, there's a lot to understand. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions about this. Let's talk about that first. One of the biggest, I think, misconceptions about flexible dieting or following your macros, etc., is that you can just eat whatever you want. So one of my biggest, pet peeves with this is like people posting the Pop-Tarts and the Ready Whip and all this sort of crap food and yay, it fits my macros. It's not that easy, number one. Number two, I would still suggest whole foods, obviously not processed foods. And man, if you're I would just say get more of a quality sort of food than like a Pop-Tart or something like that. But again, if that's what you like, yes. Now, if you are at 1,200 calories or something low, you're probably not going to have a lot of room for Pop-Tarts. And I feel like that's a big misconception out there, that you could just get to eat all this shit food. And that's really not true. Depends on where your calorie numbers are. Second, and this was a really tough one for me right away, you can't just fly by the seat of your pants. Yes, there's apps that are obviously for your phone. Yes, you can do it as you go. It is much more flexible, but you still have to have some planning and pre-planning. So, if you're at the airport and you haven't planned appropriately, obviously a lot of the foods you're going to find are high in carbs, high in, fats, things like that. It's going to throw your whole day off. So again, you still have to pre-plan and have some thought about where am I going today, what's going to be accessible, etc. The other thing that's really important is you're going to have to, like I was saying, you're going to have to get into whatever computer program you're using. There's MyFitnessPal, Calorie King, My Macros. I think Livestrong has an app as well. There's a lot of apps out there. You're going to have to get into that, I would say, at least by meal 3 or midday to see what you can do for the rest of the day. So again, that whole just flying by the seat of your pants, typically that's going to be hard to do and hard to hit your macros. As you get better at it, it will get easier. So that's one other thing I'll kind of bust myself. It took me a few months, you guys. I don't know what the challenge was for me. I thought I was doing good. I was tracking my food. I think there's a big difference. So people will say, I'm doing macros. I'm following my macros. When you're following your macros, guys, you're within 5 grams of your carbs, proteins, and fats. Okay, really, really important. If you're tracking your food, that's great. That can be very helpful. But typically what you're going to find is your calories are going to bop all over. Some days you're going to have more protein. Some days you're going to have less. And that's not effective from the standpoint of monitoring weight loss, increasing metabolic capacity by increasing your calories. Okay, so that's really important. A lot of people say, oh, I'm doing that. And then I go in and see one day they're at 1,200, one day they're at 1,800, one day they're at 100 grams of protein, the next they're at 200. That is not following your macros, and that's not optimal, as far as increasing your metabolic capacity. So let's be clear on that. You want to stay within 5 grams of your carbs, proteins, and fats. That's the other thing. I was really focused on calories, and actually you don't want to follow calories as much. You just want to follow those grams per macronutrient. You may also want to follow sodium, sugars, other things, but those 3 are the main ones to follow. Count everything. I think that's the difference. I know when I do a lot of contest prep, obviously diets, veggies are unlimited. Certain things are unlimited, right? You do want to count everything. So the cream in your coffee, the sauces that you're using, some of those things really add up. So that's where you're going to want to count everything. Like I said, you're going to want to use some type of a computer program. Usually it's a lot easier to see on the computer, but on the fly, obviously, you'll use your phone. That's really going to be key. I kind of indicated I struggled. I don't know why I was like brain dead at the beginning. I blame it on the pregnancy, but it took me a while to get it. I was, again, still all over the board. I was also, one thing I want to talk about, I was still struggling because, and here's how I feel about cheat meals. So this is kind of a little offshoot, but obviously when you do macros, there's no such thing as a cheat meal. There's no things that are off limits. This was challenging for me. Like I said, I came from that place of all or nothing. So it was very challenging for me to get used to counting everything, tracking everything. And really, guys, here's my thing around cheat meals. And this, I say that macros and flexible dieting has saved me, and I truly mean this. the thing with cheat meals, you guys, I'm not opposed to refeed days or higher calorie days or high carb days. What I am opposed to is this mindset that this meal is free. It's free. My body doesn't know that it's 4,000 calories. First of all, that's bullshit, okay? Unfortunately, you can't ever eat with immunity, okay? It's all counted for. It's all accounted for. Good, bad, everything you put in your mouth, positive, negative, etc. It has its place. It has an impact on your body, okay? This is why I am not a fan of cheat meals, because I really think people eat a lot more than they think. No food should be viewed as a cheat, okay? Your foods are either getting you to your goals or not. They're either fueling you or not. They're, better calories than others, right? Foods that are going to give you the fuel that you're looking for. The biggest thing is foods that are going to get you to the goals that you're looking for and fuel you appropriately. So I was still in that place of like cheat meals and like somehow a whole pizza doesn't count. Like, yes, it does count. Your body is aware of it, right? This mindset of like free and it's okay. I'm not a fan of that. And I do think it creates sort of that eating disordered mindset because the fact of the matter is everything counts. So following macros and doing flexible diet has really helped me. Initially, it was hard because I can't have a half a bag of something. I have to track it. What this has done is it's really caused me to create what I would say is true value for food. So I had one of my clients ask, can I have a chai tea latte from Starbucks? I said, absolutely. Let's put it in, right? So as we put it in, I think it's in the 200 to 300 calorie range, 45 grams of carbs. So you get to choose. Do you want that chai tea latte or would you prefer, almost a cup of rice, right? Obviously, I can tell you which one is going to be best for your body, which is going to fuel you, etc. But there are days those chai tea lattes sound really, really good. That's what's nice about this. You get to make the decision. I feel like this is another really key component. As a coach, I don't want to constantly be telling you what carb to eat or what protein to eat. Obviously, I want to educate you on which ones are the healthiest, which ones will probably fuel you the most. But I'm going to be honest, there are some days you want the chai tea latte. I had one day, I live in Colorado, and we went to Boulder, Colorado. I don't know why. Every time I go to Boulder, they have a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and I really love Ben & Jerry's. So in the past, what would I do? I would eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's, and somehow it was like, well, that was my cheat, or I don't do that often. Well, the bottom line is that was a lot of calories, right? What is that, 1,000 or more? And I think people think, well, it's a cheat. It's out in Never Never Land. So I said, okay, I'm going to really try this macro thing, right? I had my ice cream cone. I think it was like 11, 12 o'clock on a Sunday. I put it in. Well, lo and behold, that took pretty much all my fats and a lot of my carbs for the day. So the remainder of the day, I had to have protein and vegetables. And that wasn't that much fun, okay? But when you have those experiences, I learned, you know what? This is the true value of one scoop of ice cream in an ice cream cone, okay? I also, that particular day, I certainly enjoyed it, but it also told me, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that often. It's not worth it to me. I did do the chai tea once, or I don't know, I think it was one of those drinks with syrup in it or something. Again, that day, it really kind of made my day. But later in the day, I didn't have room for carbs. I was feeling a little bit hungry. And, again, I don't do it as often because it's just not worth it to me. So that's a key component to flexible dieting is I think you find the true value of food, good and bad. So I would rather have sort of quantity. and I don't like feeling hungry. So if I'm going to choose 30, 40 grams in a beverage, I'm going to be hungry later in the day, and it's just not worth it to me. So you get to make that decision versus your coach telling you, okay, you're going to eat the brown rice or you're going to have the tortilla or whatever. You get to make that decision each day, which to me is very empowering. You learn the true value of food, and you get to be able to make those choices on a daily basis. Even as simple as something like rice cakes. So some days I'm really craving those cheddar rice cakes. Don't judge me. They're really, really good to me. Some days they have the chocolate ones. So again, I get to make, it's simple, it's small, but I get to make that choice. Nobody's making that choice for me. So the key is staying within 5 grams of each macronutrient. People ask how many meals. That's another, what I find, nice component. I'm never going to suggest, I personally would suggest 4 to 6 meals. 3 meals I find is, again, a little bit low. Everybody's a little bit different. You're going to have to play around with that. I don't like eating that much, and then I don't like going that long between meals. So I find 4 to 6 meals. The other thing that I like about that, and determining that, I find a lot of people eat less or are awake less hours during the weekend, so they're able to maybe go from 6 to 5, even to 4 meals on the weekends. And then on the weekends, I don't know, a lot of people like to go out to breakfast. That way you're able to have a little bit more at that one meal without throwing everything off. Again, it's learning how to gauge that. As far as some other positives, or actually let's talk about this. When would I use macros and or why? So I have a lot of clients right now that they just want to be told, right? They just want to look at something because they're scared. They're fearful. They've made some good changes. They're happy with their body, and they don't want to sort of rock the apple cart. That's the exact person that I would want to encourage to use macros. What I'm doing these days is it's a set diet for a period. Then my clients will do a set diet during the week, because actually that's sometimes just easier. And then I encourage them to do macros on the weekends until they get more proficient at it. And then we'll go to macros 7 days a week, because it is not as easy as I think people make it sound. Like you just kind of go in with the flow. That's not what's happening. You do have to plan. But people like that, when you start as a coach, when I start seeing that rigidity, that is a possible sort of path to whether it be eating disordered thoughts or that all or nothing approach. So that's when I'm going to encourage that. So using this for the off season, like I said, is really key, so that you can introduce other healthy foods, so your stomach, your body is not so resistant to anything outside of like your standard contest prep diet. I'm still going to suggest, only 2 what I call non-foods a day, but bars or shakes. And that's to increase that metabolic capacity. And that brings me to, one of the other, what I would suggest, and again, this is kind of getting into a different topic concept, but the biggest thing, and I know, as I was saying, sitting there with my son, one of my main goals was I really wanted to increase my metabolic capacity. So I wanted to be able to eat more calories and get leaner, or maintain, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't focus on that. People will come to me with eating 1,200 calories. Where do you go from there? How do I prepare you for a contest? Obviously we're going to be, typically everybody's different. I've had clients that I increase calories up into a show, but typically speaking, you're going to be dropping some calories, right? If you're starting at 1,200 calories, where are you going to go from that? So if you're a competitor and you're stuck in this 45 minutes to an hour of cardio a day, you're eating 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 calories, your shelf life is short, I guess, is what I'm saying. Where you want to get to, and this is where I'm thrilled. I've literally been doing 0 cardio, maintaining my weight, even dropping my body fat. My body fat's at about 16%. I haven't done cardio in about 2 months. because I've gotten very proficient with doing my macros, flexible dieting, my body is healthy. I've increased my calories, I don't know, about 300 to 400 since the start. That's where it gets exciting. That's where macros gets to be a lot of fun. At 1,200 calories, it's not that exciting. And yes, you're going to be somewhat limited. At 2,000 calories, no cardio, maintaining your weight, that's exciting. And that's what some of you should be thinking about. Okay, you should be thinking about, I want to, right? I mean, who doesn't want to eat more food and lose weight? That is key. And I don't care what anybody says. I get a lot of clients in and they go, I love cardio. I love cardio. You love what you think cardio is doing for you. And I feel a lot of people have sort of abused cardio as a weight loss tool or a tool to use after you've basically eaten the wrong foods. And again, this creates this really negative cycle. So cardiovascular is to train your heart, okay, and to challenge your heart. It should not be the only tool or mechanism that you use to lose weight. So that can be a whole nother conversation. You can message me about that. But so that being said, it's exciting when you're up in that 1,800, 19, or 2,000. Again, I'm speaking mostly for females. That's when it gets exciting. And that's when you can have a turkey sandwich. I have a turkey sandwich pretty much every day. And I'm losing weight. And I'm at 16% body fat, okay? And it's exciting. I can go to the store. I can order a sandwich. I mean, I never thought I would have said this like a year and a half ago. So that's the key, like I said, about macros, and that's one thing. So just kind of a basic, again, if you want coaching, let me know. But typically speaking, you can use a BMR calculator online. You can start there. That's at least a starting point for your height, weight, age. Then if you follow your macros consistently, and you're within those 5 grams, let's just say, and this is a very sort of dumbed down, but you find you have a weight loss at the end of the week, I would increase across the board 3 to 5%. Again, if you're following and you're consistent during that week, you have a weight loss. Increase your calories, and that is the one thing people don't do. So they have a weight loss. They're super excited. Oh my God, I'm going to stay at this calorie. What happens? Your metabolism is not firing. I always explain, metabolism as a campfire. You want to constantly put more logs, little bit. And this goes right along with adding that 3 to 5% every week. There's a lot more to it. Obviously, there's reverse dieting. There's people that are coming from sort of damaged metabolism or slow metabolisms or too many years of competing. So there's a lot of factors. Please let me know if I can help. But that's, like I said, that's when it gets exciting. You don't want to stay at the same calories. I know that's a big fear of people. If they increase food, how am I going to be able to lose weight? I just recently had a client in 12 weeks. She lost 30 pounds and we increased her calories by 500. That's exciting and that's fun to be eating 1,900 calories, losing weight and doing 4 days of cardio. That's where I want to see people. I can relate to the all or nothing. Yes, competing is an extreme sport, but you need to, for longevity, for your health, you've got to figure out ways to do this long term. If you find yourself, all of a sudden, I had a client that was saying, Sara, I've never had an eating disorder. I've never binged on food. If you start doing that, these are all red flags. If you're doing more cardio, eating less, not losing weight, these are all red flags that you need to look at things differently. You've got to obviously think about your health. And again, I would strongly suggest flexible dieting. We can't have this. I know I've had a lot of clients through the years, like, I can't have that in my house. I can't have that. I mean, they can't have anything in their house. You know what I mean? God forbid, like, you have some jelly or something. You're going to, binge on jelly. It's not a good place to be. So, I would strongly encourage flexible dieting for people in the off season, people that are just lifestyle. And really, I've got quite a few clients nowadays, if they've repaired their metabolism to a certain point, they're doing flexible dieting all the way up to the show. So Quest bars, peanut butter, jelly, like I said, bread, oh my gosh. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over as far as macros. There's a lot to it, but I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. I just wanted to shed some light on that and some of the positives as well. You know, I don't have cravings. I have zero cravings anymore. I'm fueling appropriately. I'm at about 18 to 1900 calories. Like I said, I haven't done cardio in a couple months, and I'm at 16% body fat. You know, it gets you out of this all or nothing mentality. Again, you can adjust the number of meals based on your day. It really truly is more flexible and long-term healthier. The biggest thing I would say if you're getting started is start with 3 set diets that fit the macros. Again, winging it every day is not going to happen. But again, play with it. Get in there. Put in some foods that you like. Turkey sandwich. You know, some of these great recipes. You know, fitness. There's a ton of fitness recipes that you're going to be able to use when you do flexible dieting. So put those in. Start with those. You're going to start to get better at kind of moving and manipulating and adjusting. And also, don't forget, if you find you have a weight loss at the end of the week, again, increase those calories. That's really what you want to be focused on is you want to be a metabolic beast, right? You want to be able to eat a lot of calories and, you know, not have to do a ton of cardio to create that weight loss. So now, you know, if you guys have watched my previous videos, I'm starting prep doing no cardio. My preps in the past, I've started at, probably 1,500 calories, and I started at literally an hour of cardio. So you can see where there's only one place to go there, right? So when you're starting at 0 calories at about 1,900 calories, you're going to have a much more enjoyable prep too. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. You can email me, Sara@livetrainb.com. You can also check out my website. Happy flexible dieting.